Even if I don't get a check from this, even if it doesn't become like super big, I still love the fact that this is a platform in which anyone and everyone can come. Okay, it's very inclusive, but also exclusive.
Don't hold back how you feel. Welcome to the platform for the misunderstood and creatives alike. So roll a joint and pour a shot. You're listening to the Dash It Out podcast, the show that brings your after hours talk to daytime. No wrong opinions and all unfiltered. With your host, Vic Tor.
And here we go. Okay. So, welcome to another episode of the Dash It Out show. This is a show that brings your after hours talk to daytime with an all new episode. We're going to hang out with my all new co-host, Brownell Landrum. Brownell Landrum is an author, inventor, songwriter, and explorer of the metaphysical mysteries. In addition to being the host and executive producer of her own podcast, Life is a Trip, Reincarnation Stories podcast, and the author of The End in the upcoming We Meet Again trilogy. She is the author of over a dozen books and screenplays ranging from nonfiction, 5 Reasons Why Bad Things Happen, to fiction, including the DUET Series novels, children books, and so much more. And she's here with us today on the Dash It Out show. So let's give a wonderful round of applause to my co-host, Brownell Landrum. Okay, let's do it.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better and having this chat.
Likewise. So for the most part, how's everything with you?
Everything's great. How about you?
Everything is great. Everything was fine. It's one of the reasons why I didn't mind it being kind of late on schedule, off schedule and that. I totally forgot I had an exterminator come in today, and it was just like, oh, he kind of literally came in at 2. Actually, no, he came in like around 2:56. Sorry, not 2:56, like 1:56. And I was just like, ooh, I'm just gonna like hurry up a bit. But luckily, he got done around 2. So I was just like, okay. So when you just like, it took you a little minute, I'm like, that's good, because it kind of worked for the both of us.
I like synchronicity when things, and that's really a good moral kind of what we could talk about is sometimes things go awry, but maybe that's where it's supposed to go and we don't realize it. We think we're supposed to go here, but maybe we're really supposed to go there, and life can take us different directions, that's for sure.
And that's some deep talk. I actually want to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you feel as though you're supposed to be in a certain place at a certain time, that divine timing in which, others like speak about a lot. But sometimes divine timing is, I've came to the conclusion as of lately that divine timing is literally what it is, divine timing. It's not your time, So we can try to plan and plot and, be very strategic about our day-to-day moves, but inevitably we always find ourselves, pretty much on divine timing. And it can be a bit frustrating, feeling like you don't have power of your own life, not having control. But a way, it's kind of relief. It's a sense of relief, right? It feels as though there's more out there that's guiding you and aiding you without the needed stress of feeling like you have to be the best, you have to be here, you have to do this, you have to graduate high school, go straight to college, leave college, get a great paying job, get a house, start a family, all these things that be staples in life that society put on us. But what I find very intriguing about everyone's lives is so different. It's just the diversity of it all. That's the reason why I love speaking with individuals such as yourself, and I love getting to know people because I like to know where they are and where they're from and what they're about.
Well, I am so with you in terms of, in fact, you mentioned my story, The End, and it is, if there's a theme to that, it's sometimes I call it the upstairs, and the upstairs is in charge and they're going to tell you where they want you to be. And sometimes they're kind of like border collies. We think we want to go this way and they're going to, no, you want you over here, they're going to knock you in the direction that you're supposed to go. And it's scary to kind of relinquish control, but then in a way, were we ever in control, right? Who knows?
No, exactly. And the thing is, I've been dealing with this lately with a friend who's been having tough times, who's fallen on tough times. And I'm let him stay at my house for a bit to get himself together and focus on his next move. But it felt as though he started to get complacent. And I started to feel as though he started to get complacent off of my blessings that took me some time and hard work. Not just, my apartment, but the opportunities that was created for me as well. And I did not want to be that friend that was just like showboat and be like, well, this is mine, all prideful. This is mine. Is this way or the highway? No, I want to give him that space, their layaway to like kind of get yourself back together. But the conclusion I came to was maybe, and just maybe, and it's a heavy maybe, okay? What if we are inadvertently stepping into somebody else's, getting into somebody else's karma? Like, what are we stepping in the way of their karma? Like, what are we messing up their karmic life circle by doing what you quote unquote call helping, but in all actuality, we kind of making things a bit worse because it's just saying you have people there for a season, a reason, and for a lifetime. And if you don't know how to categorize which, category they go in, it can become problematic.
Yes,
and I realized that his season came to an end, but I kept fighting the need to stay there, even though within my spirit, deep in my spirit, I felt like something was off. Something was not adding up. And this happened to me before in the past, in which I tried to help and I helped, but I overly extended my help. And I feel like the universe, creator, God, or whatever you want to call it,
yes,
call it, the universe, the creator, I felt like it was like, okay, enough is enough. It's time to let them do them because you messing up the journey and the progress that they it's something they need to learn, that you need not to be there. Okay, you're supposed to be there just to give them the strength and the energy they need to continue their fight. But right now, you took them off the whole battleground, and I'm not liking that. And I've been feeling that. I don't know what's your view on that. Like, do you feel as though some people should be helped for prolonged periods of time, or do you feel as though it should be like a little every so often, not so much, but just every so often?
Well, that's, gosh, I mean, I love this kind of talk. So just so you know, this is so up my alley in terms of these kinds of, kind of eternal questions, right? I mean, it's, and because there's kind of a continuum, right? Because there's one end where, oh, well, some people say, oh, I shouldn't help you at all because it's your karma and you have to deal with it. And some people would say, no, I have to do everything to my best ability to help this other person, right? So there's kind of a one extreme versus the other. And one thing is, like, if I looked out the window and saw somebody being attacked, I have to do something about it, right? And even if maybe, of course, as you said, I wrote a book called 5 Reasons Why Bad Things Happen. So when people say everything happens for a reason, I literally wrote the book on it.
Right.
Right? So, I mean, like, that's so up my alley in terms of that conversation. So, where do you go with that? Where do you decide, what's too much and what's enabling? Right. And I know that, I'm no expert on anything addiction, but I know that there are, a friend of mine had some issues with over enabling someone who was addicted. Right. And they say within some of those Al-Anon and some of those kinds of programs, you have to draw your own limits to what you do and what you can do, because, it's kind of like a parent with a child, or like the analogy of a bird coming out of the shell. It's got to have the strength to come out of the shell, because if you open up the shell for it, it's not going to survive, right? It's got to have enough strength to poke through that, that beak through the shell to become a bird and strong enough to be able to live on its own. So it's a really tough call when you see somebody hurting. Like, what do you do? And, I don't know if I know the answer. I do know that obviously I believe things happen for a reason. So my greatest calling within that, and I don't know if this is helpful to you and the question you're asking, is if you can get to the why. Like, if you told me you had an illness, or somebody with an illness, and let's say I had the power to heal them, should I heal them? And my answer is, if you don't get to the why, then you're not really helping them, right? Because they got the illness for a reason. So can't we go further back and go, and I literally just today I was reading a remark in a group. I think it was in my Facebook group that I think you're probably going to mention, that I want to tell people about. It's called Life is a Trip, Reincarnation Stories. But I think it was in that group. It might not have been, but somebody said that cancer was the best thing that ever happened to them.
What?
And I've heard that from a lot of people. And so would you take that away from them? Right? And I think the reason it becomes the best thing that ever happened to them is because if they can get to the why, and, spoiler alert in my book, the thing that all the 5 reasons have in common is to get you to change something.
Right.
So your friend probably needed the change. And so if you were enabling to the level of blocking their ability to change, then maybe you did the right thing by letting go so that they could find the change and find the path on their own. Does that help at all? I don't know if that answers your question or what.
No, it actually makes a lot of sense. And I feel as though with me, I'm a strong believer in intuition. That gut feeling, everybody, that you get when you know something isn't right or when something is great and you just need to go for it. Either good or bad, regardless, your intuition kicks in. And I just knew at a certain period of time that it was time to let him go. And now, mind you, the time he came in my life, we was both mentally actively seeking the same thing as far as the companionship. He was looking for a place to heal and to grow and to remind him of who he is after all the loss he had to endure. I, on the other hand, was looking for companionship, far as the emotional companionship, as far as having someone to talk to, someone to vent to, someone to share my ideas and goals with. Because I moved away from my home city and family, friends, like they miles and miles and miles and miles away. I don't really socialize as much as far as, I go out to the bars and clubs, have a good time. Of course, then work colleagues and of course podcasts. So I have, of course, my neighbors, but like far as having someone there consistently, that was something that was lacking in my life. And he kind of filled that void and I filled the void for him. But it felt like, so I'm also a strong believer in manifestation. So I feel as though we both manifested each other in each other's lives in a time in which we needed it, okay? And it's going to come back full circle as far as reason, season, and lifetime when it comes to friends. I just feel like the season in which we asked for each other just started to go further beyond what we wanted. And that's when the complications started to rise. That's when we really started to see each other. We know what we wanted from each other, but we didn't really expect the magnitude of actually being captivated by that person's energy. And that's when it became problematic. And that's when I had to really trust my intuition and be like, okay, it's about that time. I don't want to end badly, because I've noticed like karma, negative or good, it still follows you. So I was hoping that when we did cut those ties, that at least it was cut in a good way, in which that it wasn't nothing negative was coming towards him, nothing was negative coming towards me. And I remind you, I've been in his shoes before, so I can relate with what he was going through. So I made sure to be very, very cautious in how I proceeded with pretty much telling him to get the hell out of my house.
No!
But you get the gist.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
But for the most part, I think it ended relatively fine. I mean, of course, you can tell by his demeanor that he was upset and hurt, but he did leave gracefully in his own way.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm wishing for the best, but I just feel as though it's really my intuition I have to lean on after a while. But when you really know, when someone, you should step in and be the hero or step back and just let things play out. Because there's times when I stepped in to protect a young woman who was getting harassed by, I don't know if it was a boyfriend or somebody at the bar. And excuse my language, Brownell, but she whipped his ass. And I was okay. And she was like she was real scrawny. She was scrawny and she was smaller than me, but she whipped his ass. Like she knew where to hit him and how to hit him and brush it off like it was nothing. And I was like, okay, maybe that was just meant for me just to observe and report. But then there's other scenarios in which the small things, when you see probably like your elder is struggling, like walking across the street, they drop an item and it's going to take them a little difficulty to go pick it up. And you're like, okay, let me go and help them. Although you may be rushing to work, it's just a hypothetical scenario. And, you rushing to work, you're already like running 20 minutes late. And that scenario happened as far as the elder dropped the items in the middle of the street while they walking past and the lights ticking down to like 0. But then you're just like, you know what, let me go ahead and help them. In certain cases, would that be that karma just to leave them there and like, or that karma is me stepping in to help them because of the good karma that they created? I don't know. The word is so vast.
I know. Well, I've got two answers. One is, I think when you're talking about the woman at the bar, I think just my intuition, which is going to be my second question related to the intuition, but my intuition is she felt your energy, that you were there for her, and therefore gave her the strength to do that. So
I
you could
believe
have
that.
helped her without helping her. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
just knowing somewhere that somebody, and this can be metaphoric support, like where's the support coming, or is there somebody right by your side? But I think I don't know, I'm just getting a message that I think she felt your energy, that you would have been there. And so that
Yeah.
gave her the strength to do that.
I believe it.
Yeah, yeah. And then the
I'm a
other
strong
question is,
believer in energy transference.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I can tell you do. And this is already really fun. The other thing is, where do you think intuition is? I mean, do you think it's the folks, like I call them, the folks upstairs kind of guiding you? Or do you think it's your physical body knowing some information? Do you think
No,
so? Do you think it's your
no.
superconscious? Where do you think
I
that's
know,
coming
I know, I know it's us. It's our spirit. We are spiritual individuals living a human experience, everybody. And if you don't know that, then you know now. Shout it out.
from?
The
You know now.
the spiritual body always win. We are literally spiritual individuals. And I noticed that sometimes I forget that. But as of yesterday on my way to work, I'm riding a train going across the Manhattan Bridge, going to work now. And I meditated after the whole ordeal with my friend and the whole ordeal with everything that was going on. It just felt like my life was out of control and I haven't meditated in like a month. So I decided to go ahead and meditate. And once I did, I'm a strong believer in opening the chakras, letting them flow freely, but also just kind of like grounding and centering yourself. Once all that was said and done, okay, Brownell, I kid you not, my body was vibrating.
Isn't
So
that
it was
beautiful?
vibrating so much that it actually scared the living shit out of me. Okay, it scared me because I felt like I was literally leaving out of my body. Like I felt like I was about to teleport. And so I was like,
They were ranking you, they're
typically,
knocking you up a level, right? You were just kind of like doing
exactly.
an elevation.
My vibrational frequency raised.
Yeah,
That's what that was. But
yeah.
because I was so used to vibrating low because of everything that's going on, when you hold on to grief, anger, depression, frustration, all that it lowers your vibrations. But because my chakras were so lowered for so long that when I finally cleared them out, it didn't feel like I was just taking on. I feel like my vibrations went back to where they originally were, and then some, because of the good karma that I've done now. And that's when I felt like, wow, this like really feel different. And then when I went to work, I didn't even feel like I belonged there. I felt like something was off. I felt like there was a mission. There was something I needed to do. I felt like that's when I knew that my vibration was raised. It was definitely heightened because I knew that where I was at in my life was not where I needed to be. It's you can get complacent, especially if you resonate and vibrate in low frequency. You can get complacent, but when you resonate in high, you know there's something more. You feel it. You're going after it. You just know it's there, and that's when that divine timing, I feel as though, kind of comes into fruition because you vibrating so high that now the energies of everything is like when you vibrate, that everything is coming towards you. Like the saying, like attracts like. So that's what I felt, and that's why I know, like, I'm definitely a strong believer in energy, and I'm definitely a strong believer that we are spiritual beings living a physical experience. And yeah, that's what when we have dreams. When we close our eyes, we can see something. We can close our eyes, we can still see it in our mind's eye. That's the ethereal realm, and also our subconscious. People would say our higher self. That's our spirit. Our higher self is our spirit. Now, scientists may be like, oh, well, no, they're just your subconscious mind. Yes, a subconscious mind, but the subconscious mind is telling us the good, the bad, the ugly, like good stuff. But what do that subconscious mind, why does the subconscious mind always feel like it's right? Why does that tuition always feel like it's right? That's not us. That's not our gut. I mean, yes, we are smart, but at the same time, we are timeless creatures, should I say. And that's how I feel. That's what I believe, okay?
And as I was saying, like with the story that's offered free, by the way, to anybody listening. So if you want to read the story, as I said, it's called The End. When I was writing it, I'm writing it from the point of view of the upstairs. So if you're one of these beings up here and you're
Yes.
looking at us and going, okay, how do I help this person on earth, and how do I help them find that path and give them that intuition and nudge them on the right road? And I started writing it from their point of view, and I thought, this is entertaining and fun, and I'm having a good time. And then all of a sudden I'm realizing, I'm writing really the truth. Like, these are the real beings, and they really are doing this. And it was like, a story where as I'm writing it, it becomes true. It's like manifesting itself when you talk about manifesting. And it was just such a trip, because what it taught me is exactly what you're saying, is that, they're in charge, and I need to just tune in, meditate, get as much information.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing what they want me to do, they fill me with all kinds of joy. Like I just happy, happy, happy. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm doing what I should be doing when they'll reward me, right? And if I'm not, either it's crickets, so I'm like, okay, I got to figure it out because I'm off track and they're not telling me what I have to do.
Yes.
Or sometimes it's like, okay, I've got to get into deep introspection, do the meditation like you're talking about. And then sometimes, okay, it's like, okay, then it comes forward. Then I know I got to get deeper into the why, right? This is happening for a reason. What's the reason? And, as you've said, I mean, I've written all these books and all these, screenplays and children's books and romantic novels and, nonfiction. And they all kind of come down to what's the why? Like we all have to get to the why, and we get to that, we can understand it. So for you and helping your friend, you had your why for helping them. They had their why for why you were helping them, and even endings, even though they're hard, they have their why to get you. And sometimes those transitions aren't so easy, and sometimes the transitions are, woo, yes, I want to go here, but sometimes they're not, And but I think you do build good karma when you help others, and I think that. And I think it's even possible to potentially build not so good karma when you don't help people that you can help, right? But that doesn't mean you don't have limits, right? And
when you have good karma when you help people with the intentions of actually helping them, because there's a difference. There's a difference.
Yes.
You have some that just do it just because they want good karma or they just want something in return. But when you do it, your intentions are pure and they align with your spirit. That's when the good karma activates.
We've got a winner.
I'm with you.
You got to be all in 100. You cannot expect to like, okay, well, I fed the homeless, but then you go home and be like, yeah, I have to be around these dirty bums, so I fed them. Like that is not going to create good karma. That right there that's the physical, that's the human body, that's the physical body. That's not the spiritual. That's spiritual karma. You're not getting that. But it definitely make a valid point. But I just want to clarify that because some things get lost in translation, especially in this day and age. Where if you have like witch talk, you have like so many spiritual and metaphysical groups and videos circulating through social media nowadays. That there's a huge misconception that, well, if you do this and the manifestation doing that, I would get it. But it's divine timing, but it's also more importantly your intentions. You can't just do something and expect that it's going to automatically just be given to you. No, it's your intentions. If your intentions aren't right, you're not going to get it. But you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I just want to go ahead and clarify that just a little bit because
I agree with that. And in fact, I just recently I was having somebody kind of talk to me about the fact that, as you mentioned, I have a podcast, and the podcast is it's called Life is a Trip, just like my Facebook group, and Reincarnation Stories. And the whole purpose of that is to celebrate writers around the world and have their stories and share their stories. And it's not an interview one like this. It's more people writing a story, writers or storytellers, and then we record them and put them up so people can just go on there and listen to stories. And I said to somebody, like, there's not a monetary aspect to this podcast, and I would be thrilled if one of the other writers gets a call from Hollywood and gets their stuff turned into something big. Like, it's not about, me and my stories. Yeah, I'd like people to read my stories because everybody who writes wants people to, also resonate with their stories. It's just, I know these stories can change the world. I know that they can make a difference. I know the kinds of things that you're doing and the things we're talking about. We never know who's going to listen to this and go, oh my God, you just answered the thing that I need the most right now. And that's the much bigger gift than whether you get a paycheck or tomorrow I get something in the mail or, or somebody doing something for me. It's the gift of giving and the ability to hopefully make a difference in the world. At least, that's my vibe.
Yeah. And that's great because it's funny because you brought up your podcast. I was going to ask you as far as the premise behind it, but you said in the answer. See how we just, our energy is kind of like just there. I didn't even have to even ask the question. You just kind of like just took it right out. But I love what you're doing. And yes, even if I don't get a check from this, even if it doesn't become like super big, I still love the fact that this is a platform in which anyone and everyone can come. Okay, it's very inclusive, but also exclusive.
There you go.
And
You got it, dude.
I just want to be able to share the light on various topics, various individuals, because it's not just about me. It's yes, National Show podcast, but you're not just my guest, but you're also my co-host. So I'm learning from you just as much as you may be possibly learning from me. And that's how I kind of want this whole show to be set up. And I love it because it's more than me. It's all of us. It's like a party every time.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, and then, it's the party, which is also whoever might be listening, like I said, and that might go, oh, wow. Some people might be reinforcing something they already knew. Some people might be a whole new concept that they hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
But then it kind of opens up a possibility, and you never know that kind of power.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really beautiful.
So I just want to ask a quick question. So was you always into the metaphysical? Like, what started you in this covert world? Like, how did you get started in the metaphysical?
You mean this lifetime?
In this lifetime.
Sorry.
and before.
Yeah. Because some of the other lifetimes I was in there too, but it took a while to remember it in this lifetime. I'm saying that a little tongue in cheek, but I do find reincarnation to be such an interesting thing. Like, I don't necessarily even care if people believe in it, but I love opening people's minds to the possibility of it, because it changes your perspective on life in such a cool way. Plus, they're really interesting and fun stories that I like to tell. For me, I probably had always been kind of searching. A friend of mine, or kind of a friend at the time anyway, years ago, somebody I knew from a work thing, he's like, Brownell, you're an explorer, and you're always going to be an explorer. And when he said that, I was like, okay, this is really interesting, because what he was telling me is that as soon as I think I have the answer, I'm going to find out there's more. Like, there's not a limit to the answers. I'm not going to fit into a box of what I was told. I might think, oh, I've got it. And then like, no, there's a lot more to it than that. And so I'm kind of always looking for more and more. I first kind of got, of course I'd heard about reincarnation, most of my life, but I really first got into it, like a lot of people, with Shirley MacLaine, when she started talking about it many moons ago. And I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of explaining something. And I was having a recurring dream that now I call a dreamery, which was, I know was a memory from a past life. And it started explaining a relationship I was in and some of these other things that were happening. And so that kind of just got me to open my mind and learn meditation and, read these books and all this kind of stuff. So it kind of changes everything when you start realizing that. What about you? When was your first awakening?
My first awakening actually started around 14, but I didn't really started heeding the call until about 17. And one of the authors I was reading at the time was Doreen Virtue.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Doreen Virtue. And I used to read her books, and it was always talking about like earth angels. It was talking about reincarnation. It was talking about certain energies and guides that was there. And we're always talking about her stories. It was pretty much it was kind of more like a memoir, but like almost like a novel, with a lot of hyperboles in which that she was speaking about her life story as being a psychic. And it was very interesting, and I can relate with what she was saying most of the time. And when I really started like diving into it is when things started to get, let's say, more spiritual than most. And when I started practicing and dealing with different religions and cults and everything, just trying to figure out, just trying to put my finger on it. I was like, I knew this meant this, but why is this? Okay, so then I would go down this path. And so I was never really the religious type, and that was one of the things that me and my father always kind of went back and forth at. My father grew up heavily Christian religious, and I never really considered myself Christian. I was always religious. But then further down the line, I realized that how certain things are tied to each other. And, I'm a strong believer. I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus. I do believe in other deities and everything. But it's like, far as a creator, I feel like there's only one creator, just one creator. But I do believe in multiple spirits. I do believe in deities and guardian angels and angels, the good and the bad. So it's like a whole world, right? It's like a whole world. It's like you just don't really know too much about it, and there's certain levels to each angel, deity, guide. There's levels to it, okay?
Right.
but a lot of individuals in my studies and what I've came to learn is that what a lot of individuals tend to do is kind of put them all on the same level, when in all actuality that's really not the case. And then you have some people that's in the Buddha religion, the Buddha faith. You have people that's in Santeria. I know some people that do that's in so many faiths. I can't go down the list right now. Can't go down the list right now.
There's a
But
lot.
there's so many, but they would even speak about it. I had a gentleman, Sadhu Da, who came onto the podcast, some time ago, and he's a traveling monk. He considers himself a forest shaman. He studied with forest shamans. He studied with monks. He lived in Taiwan. He lived in all of Asia. Like, he traveled, and he dedicated his life to studying and becoming, his higher self. And he was even telling me, like, there's definitely levels to deities and spirits and guides and angels and everything. And what a lot of people tend to do is put them all in one box, in one category, and think that that's it, when that's not the case. It's almost like age group. You can't put a preschooler in college and expect that preschooler to answer those questions that professor is asking, So it was kind of like that, So, so my thing was, I started to learn that, okay, well, there's a time and a place for certain deities, time and place for certain energies. I started getting into astrology. I started getting into numerology. I started getting into colorology. I started getting into so many things that once I realized, once I really tapped into being energy sensitive, which some people call clairsentient.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. Clairsentient, yes. When you become very energy sensitive, that's when the calling really kicked in for me. That's when I started realizing, like, certain things wasn't working with certain things and certain people. That's when I was able to really be intuitive, really tap into my power. And also the days, the energies of the days, I could just feel them every time they come around. I knew what to do on certain days, what time of the day. I can feel the moon phase. I can feel when the sun is rising, when the sun is setting. Like, I became very, very clairsentient. And that's when things really started to take off for me. And I really started to tap into otherworldly things. And I started witnessing. And I've done a lot of miraculous things. And so I definitely am a strong believer in a lot, because I've been through a lot and seen a lot. And it's funny, because literally I just was talking to Salvador about this. And so that was part of my journey. Right now, things are a bit not as intense as they were before, besides that train meditation when I felt like I was vibrating. But other than that, I know me. I know my life experiences, my journeys. Those knowledge that stick with the spirit. That'll go nowhere. Regardless if you're practicing or not, or you're talking about it or not, or you're teaching it or not, or you're podcasting about it or not. Those things stick with your spirit. It doesn't go nowhere. Okay, it's sticking with your spirit. So, besides your works in reincarnation, because like you said, some people may not believe in, some people are skeptics. Can you break down the ideology even for those who do not know what reincarnation is?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, the group that I mentioned and my podcast and the stories, we make it really clear that they can be fictional or factual. So we are not trying, like you're talking about, put things in a box. We are not trying to force things into a particular box. We're not trying to say, oh, you can prove it or you can't prove it. There are plenty of groups and plenty of other places that are all big into, proof of reincarnation, or some way of this is the way it works, or this is the way it works. So we're really open. I mean, kind of one of our big goals is to open people's minds, and you do that. And I honestly find that fictions can do that more than nonfiction sometimes. Because somebody will just read a story, and you don't have to believe in time travel to enjoy Back to the Future. You don't have to be believe in reincarnation to enjoy some of these stories, right? They're really, really interesting ways to look at things differently. So that being said, though, personally, the way I look at it is we have a soul. That soul existed before we were born and will exist after we die. And the soul chooses a body, it becomes us. So that's where the three selves come from. So whether you call it super ego, and id, or superconscious, conscious, subconscious, or spirit, mind, body, right? Because when I realized that the body was the subconscious, that like blew everything away. I'm like, okay, now I get it. Like, that was one of those big revelations for me. And so we will choose a different body for each lifetime. And I like to always say, like, what would happen if your soul had chosen my body, or vice versa? Like, how different would we be? we would be really different, right? Because your soul
Right.
has memories and the body has memories and genetic and family history and all those things kind of all tie together. And that's what makes you unique for that lifetime. One of the things I love about reincarnation is that I do believe that we choose a variety of different kinds of experiences. So we don't always come back, in the same location, same family, same this and that. Now, we might repeat some of the same people, but we've probably all been different races. We've all been different nationalities and different religions and,
Sexes.
different gender. I'm sorry.
I was like in different sexes, but
And different
gender.
sexes. Yeah, exactly. So you're already syncing with me.
You are
Yeah, so
a
we can,
wizard,
and so then
Harry.
all of a sudden you realize, like, how can there be racism if we've all been different races, right? How can there be gender issues? Some people I think might be more comfortable in one gender than another because of their past lives. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. But it's really hard to start choosing, oh, well, this country versus that country or this religion versus that religion if we've kind of all been there. And to me, that's one of the most beautiful unifying things. So we decide, in fact, I'll kind of steal from a children's book that I wrote on life and purpose and everything. I wrote two. I wrote one on reincarnation and I wrote this one. But it's just an excerpt from it. It's like, we decide on our lessons, the paths we will take, awards we might go for, and mistakes we might make. For life isn't easy and not always fun, but easy is boring, like games always
Damn.
were. So that's like a little excerpt, but we before we're here, we decide on those lessons, right? And we kind of have an idea, and there might be some things that we're going to push ourselves a little hard for, and we might not go, might not go the way we wanted. And then the rest of it goes, so we set up our challenges and mountain so high to test our endurance and reach for the sky. It doesn't much matter if we get to the top. What matters much more is what we do when we stop.
Woo! Oh yeah.
So I think that the purpose, the why, if you will, of the reincarnation is that it adds so much dimension. You can say, well, why did this person get this life and this person get like a shorter life or a more trying life or a more physically challenging life or whatever? And you're like, well, they may have wanted to learn something from that. And if it's not your only life, then it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll try this one and then I'll try this another one the next time. This one, this life I might be rich, this life I might be struggling. And it's all to help us learn and grow and evolve and, get us to the best level we can get.
Nice. That's that blueprint for everybody that's listening. So what Brownell Landrum is explaining is that before we reincarnate, we choose our life struggles, our love, and who we are, who we're going to become before we reincarnate. And that's what they consider the Akashic records, the records that you kind of set up, the blueprint you set up. So, your life is pretty much mapped out before you reincarnate. So when you come, everything is, you pretty much going according to that blueprint. That's why I feel as though when you...
Map. I think we've designed the map, but then when we get here, we can take the high road or the low road. We can sit in an intersection. Like your friend might have been sitting in an intersection and you're like, you need to keep moving on down the path, right? And so we can maybe go off road. I mean, so it's that I think we have free will kind of at two places. One is we're helping plan, which of course we have helpers that help us plan. And then when we get here, so not everything is completely predestined, at least in my view, right? Because then all we're doing is acting out something somebody else had planned. We're not learning much from that, right? But if we're learning when we go, okay, I have a choice here. Do I do, like you're talking about karma or making decisions? I have a choice. Do I take which direction and which is going to elevate me the most? And sometimes we get separated from that higher part of ourselves and make decisions that aren't necessarily the best for the higher part. That makes sense.
It does, and that was well said and spoken.
Thank
I feel the energy.
It's so great.
I feel exuberated. Okay. So besides everything else, I would like to play a game here on the Dash It Out Show. It's our game that we love to play. It's called the Dash Stash. Now, essentially, the Dash Stash is pretty much just a hypothetical scenario in which you would just fill in the blank. Are you curious and do you want to play?
Of course.
Okay, let's play the Dash Stash.
Dash, dash.
Let's do it. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start it off just so you can get an idea of how it goes, okay? So Question number 1 is going to be, I wonder if I could blank so that I could do blank. And for instance, I would say, I wonder if I could fly so that I can do whatever I can in the sky. It don't have to be literal, but just, something just to, play around. So in your case, I wonder if I could blank so that I could do blank.
I think, the obvious answer, and it is, kind of obvious, but is I wonder if I could take this group, these messages that you and I are doing, the messages in my podcast, the stories, and reach more people and really get people to listen to these stories and get more stories and collect more stories. And in order to maybe open up some minds to get some people more unity and more peace on earth and just, change the world. Is that too much?
That's a mission statement, Brownell. I love it. That's a strong mission statement. Okay. I see you. Look, not being boxed in. I love it. Breaking down barriers. Okay. I see you, Rebel. Okay. Let's see. I had a riveting dream that I was a blank.
I had it, so that can be something I make up or something that I actually had because I did have a riveting dream the other day.
Either or. The dash just to get into your brain, either quirky or literal, but it just is either or. So I had a riveting dream that I was a blank.
That I was an evolved being from another planet who was checking out Earth and seeing what Earth is all about.
That was intense. That sounds like astral. That's like an astral projection. Like, wow. Okay, that was deep. Okay, all right. While scuba diving, I've met a mermaid, and the first thing I can think to do was blank.
Ask where the mermen are.
Oh, where the merman at? I don't know if they're going to share. I heard mermaids are very territorial.
Okay. Well, there's got to be some single mermen too.
Well, according to Doreen Virtue, apparently she's like, they're very territorial. Yeah. But hey, mermans, look, come on through.
Come on through, merman.
Okay, so the next one. In 5 years, I will be blank. And in another 5 years, I will be blank.
Oh, wow. That question's such an interesting one as you get older, because it changes, so much. I think I want to be able to, in 5 years, I want to be able to maybe relax because I've already set in motion this big change that I want the world. And so it can have an energy of its own. And not that I don't enjoy putting it out there and everything, but just that it's going to have its own momentum and it's going to live without me and beyond me. 10 years, at a certain age, you kind of think about, okay, am I still going to be here in 10 years? And I'll just answer that in terms of, I was laughing with a friend. She's like, you got to write a memoir. And I said, well, if I write a memoir, I'm going to write it after I'm gone and I'm going to have somebody channel me. That might be fun. I don't know when that's going to be. It might be longer than 10 years, but somewhere in somewhere in the distant future, maybe there'll be a story by me that's me channeling through somebody else.
Well, I hope that everything's still good and your plan is for you to continue to spread your message for as long as possible. In that case, it's also reassuring and confirming to yourself and the universe as far as your mission goes, your mission statement. So for me, I'll be like, in 5 years, I hope to have a syndicated TV show, take Dash and Our Show to the next level. And another 5 years, I hope to be able to not only interview guests, but also share light in other countries and other cities as far as poverty and genocide is happening. Share the light to be able to help other countries that are struggling, just to really take it global. So that's me. That's little.
Yeah, I send you energy for that.
This has
just been really great. I'm just having so much fun getting to know you. I'm just thrilled. It's
Thank you.
I love these kinds of talks.
So we have one more question, okay?
Okay.
I would rather be reincarnated as a blank so that I could blank.
Reincarnated as a blank. No, I like that. That one I have to think about a little further. I guess the ability to maybe guide others and empower others. I guess that's the second part, but maybe reincarnated as some sort of guide and being able to empower others, so that it's not just about me or what I can get, but if the more, it's kind of like that multiplier effect, or the ripple effect, and be able to reach more people, but not be about me, and be about them, just elevate them, which is probably what yours is too.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, I mean, you already had a dream that she was this hobbit, this being looking at the world. So maybe, just maybe. Yeah. But so Brownell, thank you so much for coming on the show. Before I let you go, are there any new works that you're working on? And better yet, just go ahead and just tell the listeners where they can find all your works.
Okay. Well, my name is Brownell Landrum. And I'm the only Brownell Landrum in the world, so it's pretty easy to Google me and find me. There's a YouTube channel. I have a website. The Life is a Trip Reincarnation Stories group on Facebook is wonderful, and so I'd like to invite people to join that. You can find me that way as well. Same with the podcast, is called the same thing, and I'm sure you're going to give some links in the description. The story, The End, that I was mentioning, written from the point of view of the upstairs, that's free to anyone, so I hope you're going to give that link out to everyone. And then also I'm launching my trilogy, which I didn't really talk about much, but I'm launching a trilogy that's about a famous couple reincarnated today to fulfill a prophecy that'll change the world. And so it's a really fun, it's like an Outlander meets Da Vinci Code with the reincarnation kind of story through it. And it's coming out next month. So, and I've got the first book for 99 cents. So I hope people can check that out too.
Oh, I can see that being a major blockbuster. Like,
Thank you.
Let me hop in. I can see that. That's yes, Brownell Landrum. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on the Dash It Out show.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a wild ride, and I'm so grateful that you was able to join and come in. But yeah, so all the information to Brownell Landrum's books, everything in between, and also links to her books will be linked down in the description below, or to the left or the right, wherever this description boxes are now these days. Yes, thank you. Let's give another round of applause to my awesome co-host who did it big, did it up on the Dash It Out show.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Feeling the love.
Likewise. So until then, I'm your host, Vic Dash Tour. This is Brownell Landrum, and great one. See you next time.